As you know, I just got back from North America and I had really good news regarding my cancer situation. I'm still in remission, that's great, and taking it one day at a time. Well, I knew going into that trip that the end of the trip was going to be difficult. And specifically, it was going to be difficult because before I left on this trip, a couple weeks before, I got a text from my father saying that he has cancer. And I was planning on going to see him at the end of this trip for a couple of days. And before I left for this trip, I had no idea how advanced the cancer was. I had no idea what the prognosis was, what the treatment was going to be, any of those things. And so I had my good news, but I knew going forward that I was going to see him and find out more about his situation. So I went there and I found out he lives outside of Seattle. And first of all, what I found out was that he, without giving too many details, he's going to be going through radiation and chemotherapy, followed by 2 different operations, followed by more chemotherapy. And this is really the best case scenario. And there's a really, really good chance of this going really well, which is good news. But at the same time, there are a couple of challenges. One of those challenges is that the fact that my father, he does live alone. He's not married. And so from a distance, organizing with his support team, which people have stepped up in some incredible ways. I really appreciate some friends and some of his church members who have come around him. And they're organizing home health visits every day. They're taking him to radiation. They're taking him and making sure regarding chemo and that he's eating right and sleeping and all of those kinds of things. And so I'm really grateful for this support team that's coming around him. At the same time, it's a struggle for me. I found this out, a few weeks after we had arrived here in France. If I had known, I don't know if that would have affected our decision to come here, because I feel the tension or the struggle between honoring my father on the one hand and what God has called us to do here in the French-speaking world on the other hand, and we're just launching out and we will continue. And yet I'll probably go back and visit. I'm going to be in continual communication with the support team there around him. And it's a rough go. He's going to be physically weak. Mentally, it's going to be difficult. He's probably going to struggle with memory and cognitive ability going through this. I know how I felt going through chemo and everything I went through a couple of years ago. And so you could pray for his physical healing. You could pray for relationally, just the struggles that have been there my entire life. As you know, my mother and father have not been together my entire life, and that's always a struggle. And there's always repercussions as a result of that. And just pray for our entire family around him. And pray that God would work some miraculous healing on the physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual levels all around my father as a result of this. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for supporting us. And please continue to pray for us and pray for me as I feel the weight of this and the struggle of honoring my father and following God's call thousands of miles away around the world.